welcome everyone. We really enjoyed our last conversation about early experiences of dating and just crushes in general. And we are not done the conversation. I
Oh,
think
far
we had
from.
so much more. We talked about teenage, and then now we want to talk about, our early adulthood and what that experience was like for us. What was really exciting for me to start off with was entering university. I felt like a new person. I don't know about you, but I was like, oh, I'm moving to the city. I'm leaving the small town. I'm going into the big city where there's so many more Asians, specifically Chinese people, that maybe I could interact with and get myself involved with. I was really excited but scared going in, a little bit more single. I was dating someone in the, I think, first year, but then afterwards I was single. So I was really excited. Was that like that for you?
Almost exactly the same. I came out of high school dating somebody, and then after like a year or so in the city, then, we broke up and I was free to roam, experience different relationships, which was really exciting for me because Squamish was so small in that sense, where our dating
Yes.
pool or people we could actually be with, it was quite limited.
Did you have a lot of learning experiences after, all the high school dating experience? Because I think, as you're young, you don't really have, this might sound bad, but you don't really have standards. You're just like, I like you like me. Why don't you like me? I like you. That kind of mentality. How important has it been for you to, have someone maybe understand your cultural background or your new principle way of thinking of dating?
Pretty soon after I had broken up with that boyfriend in high school, I was working with someone who really taught me how I should want to be treated. I think the relationship that I was in coming out of high school was very toxic and I didn't
Mm.
know any better. It was really hard to let go of, but when I met this person after and kind of just really opened my eyes because he treated me well.
Was
He
this a
was
boyfriend
really
that you were seeing, or this was someone you're like a friend?
it was Okay, first of
I know what
all,
that means.
yeah. I don't know if you ever had to hide a relationship from your family, but this was one of the relationships I hid from mine because he
Okay.
was 13 years older than me.
Okay. Yeah,
13
I
years.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember now.
And let's just say he was overall pretty well experienced, I think. um,
Also
and I
know what that
definitely
means.
I definitely hid it from my family because it wasn't a relationship that I ever felt like I'm gonna marry this person.
Right.
It felt like
He wasn't your
it was my
person.
no, and it felt like he was my transition from being in a small town to being in the city and learning what that meant to me in terms of what was I actually looking for in a person. It was very eye-opening, and
Mm.
I learned so much from that relationship. I think that was, like, the pivoting relationship in all of my adulthood is, like, that's where it started. I have to say that's where it
Oh,
started. How about
okay.
you?
That's really interesting. I did. I hid all of my relationships from my
All of
parents.
them.
I think, well, okay, no, but like after my high school, I think my high school one, like I couldn't hide that one anymore because he was 1 year older and he asked me to go to his prom. And at that point, I didn't even tell my parents that, we were dating. I just said, oh, there was a boy that asked me to go to his prom. Can I go? And I think maybe my mom like took the hint, and then because when he picked me up for prom, that was the first time they met him. And his mom came too to like, I guess, chaperone. And yeah, it was really weird. So then they both parents met. Also really weird. And then we dated for a while, and then so I think my parents accepted him. He was also very nice because he was open to our culture. Like he would eat whatever we made. He was really open-minded. He even tried to learn some of the, the language that we spoke. Not that saying my parents' English was, hard or difficult to understand, but it was just exchanging cultures, right? I vividly remember a long time ago, I would talk to his dad, and he was like, "So what's like Chinese music like? And I'm like, oh. And then he's like, what are you listening to? And I was really into my Chinese music. Like I would still listen to like Zhang Haoyao, people that were top early 2000 at that time. So I had that on my playlist. And then, so he was listening to Chinese pop music for the first time, Cantonese pop music for the first time. He's like, this has been around for a long time. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, I don't know how to explain it to you, but I'm like, it's just different language in the music, right? And he was like listening to it. He's like, oh, this is very interesting. Like, I don't even know if it was like a good interesting or bad interesting, but he wanted to keep like listening to it. And he's like, huh, he's like, I think it was just his first time hearing it because he is not exposed to it, doesn't even know where to like even get hold of this kind of music. Whereas I'm like, yeah, I just go to Chinatown. And I would find all that kind of music. So that's how I like switch codes, right? In my mind, like switching Western mindset versus an Asian mindset in a relationship, because I had a lot of, I guess, Chinese things that I would do. Watch the shows, listen to the music, the food, the thought process, and then I would have to explain that to whoever I was dating at that time. And sometimes I would be hesitant of how much I would share of like my cultural background. I have to see how receptive they are. But I think after that relationship and I moved to, the city and started university, I actually did think to myself, I kind of want to date someone that would speak the same language, maybe have the same mindset, because I don't know what that's like. I've always just had the Caucasian people that I would date. And I would just always have to slowly ease them in, like, oh, yeah, this is chicken feet. You might not like this, but you should try it. And then after I met my husband, I don't have to explain anything. We just know. And I was like, huh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I cannot relate. I can't relate only because I wasn't that immersed. I had the
Yeah.
cultural background in terms of the mindset specifically
Yeah.
about manners. So, yes, I hear you in the sense that it's definitely must have been nice to find someone that you could just relate to like deep down. The only reason why I would have considered dating an Asian person was because I was looking for someone who had really good manners. And a lot of the
Oh,
Asian men that I had met along the way, they had such good manners. They treated
so that was like a
women.
criteria?
No, it just, that was like one of the things that I always noticed about Asian men
Okay.
that I was like, oh, he has really good manners.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was something that I just noticed. Like if I had a friend who was Asian, I got that from that person, and I was thinking, oh, that's kind of nice, but I'm not interested in you at all. Like in terms of physical, emotional, I was like, no thanks. That's one of the biggest things that I noticed when we were young. That I was thinking that would be nice.
I think I know what you're talking about because when my husband had met my family for the first time, he was already with us at our place and we were having hot pot for dinner. He got up and just immediately greeted my mom. Usually it's like, the daughters and like, oh, greeting, but like he was the first one to go and greet my mom. He immediately had that, I guess, hosting behavior. He would just like be very attentive, like just be very respectful. And I was, yeah, really shocked about that. I was like, oh, I didn't even like tell him to do any of those things. But then again, he's also the second person that's ever met my family. The other one, we're just kids. You don't know what to do when you're just kids. But me, I was like, oh, if I'm meeting someone's parent for the first time, then I should bring something. Again, Asian mentality, where he's like, you should always bring a gift. I mean, I didn't bring a fruit basket, I brought like flowers, or I said I should bring something. And then even when I was meeting my husband's other family, I'm like, I need to bring something. So I think even when we went back to like Taiwan for the family, I brought I brought Canadian smoked salmon and maple syrup.
Way to feed
Like,
into the stereotypes.
right. I'm like, hi. Yeah, I don't know what else to bring you. And then, yeah, like, enjoy.
Smoked
Hope you like
salmon.
it. Yeah. I think sometimes when I was meeting new guys and just seeing how they are. Yeah, I still didn't have a preference at that time of who I would date. I just wanted someone who was, I think, open-minded was really important, because I
Mhm.
think sometimes people would see me and they think like she looks too Asian or something. Like I don't look that Western. I think because I immerse myself a lot in the Asian culture, maybe I would be too Asian for some guys. And then for other Chinese guys, maybe I wasn't Asian enough. I didn't fall in a certain category. And then, of course, when I met my husband, he's like, "Oh, you're from Squamish." He's like, "Oh," he also liked the fact that, I had a bit of a balance, because he was the same way too. So in the end, it was a match.
Now that I'm really thinking about it, I probably rejected a lot of the things that would make me Asian,
Like
make me
what?
seem Asian. I think that I rejected a lot of those things when I was young, or I refused to show those things and didn't
Hmm.
want to take part in those things because my Asian-ness was so rejected by the community that we were living in. Probably that's what one of the reasons why I didn't want to go to Chinese school. I didn't want to see any more Asian people. I didn't want to date an Asian man. I was thinking, I think it was, especially when we were in Squamish, it was so deep rooted in me that to be Asian was to be other. And I really didn't want to be othered. And even though I enjoyed watching my, you know, Chinese shows with my parents at home when we were living in Squamish, I really loved that time. I think it was a time for connection that I didn't really
Hmm.
get. That's probably the biggest reason why I had like full on rejection in the very beginning of all Asian men when I was dating. It was just not in my realm. And but I did also find that when I was dating people, I wasn't dating people who could so easily be categorized as Canadian. My high school boyfriend and the person who switched my way
I
of
guess
thinking with
your
dating,
perspective. Yeah.
those are the only Caucasian men I have ever really dated, like white Canadians. All the other ones had a different cultural background. And I think maybe that's what I needed. I needed somebody who, had a different cultural background that could understand, that was not just open to Asian culture, but just open in general. I don't want to talk too much about husbands because I know we're going to have to go into it later, but I think that that was one of the biggest things that I found in my husband was the openness, because he's
Yeah.
from a small town also, like a very, very small town in Spain. But he traveled so much and lived in so many different places that he's like the definition of open minded. I didn't have many people who were open minded when we were young around me.
Right.
So it was helpful to
We were adjusting ourselves around their environment and
100%.
their families. I always felt hesitant when someone asked like about, something about our Asian culture. Like, "Oh, so what do you guys like to do?" Or if they had any questions about it, I'm like, I don't want to have to explain it. Not because I didn't want to explain it, but I don't want it to scare them. I think the scariest part is like what type of food
Oh,
we
okay.
eat. Cuz I'm like, it's not it doesn't sound delicious, but it obviously is. If we eat the fish, we eat the whole fish. We include everything, innards, tripes, like whatever. We just eat all of that, right? Even now, I'm just thinking about it. I don't know if you hear like the hesitation in my voice. I'm like, yeah, it gave me the ick to have to explain it to them. When I'm thinking about dating now, though, if I had to go back to my younger self and tell myself like what should I be looking for or how to approach, I remember I think I told my mom this because she was like, "Oh, you're single now," and for some reason I think she was excited for me that I was single too and possibly meeting someone. And she's like, "Who you gonna what do you think your next partner is gonna look like?" And I said, "I want someone who's active, right? Like athletically. And I'm not saying they have to be like super jacked and going to the gym all the time. I just wanted someone who likes to stay active, and I wanted someone who has like a good healthy lifestyle." I think that's what I said in the beginning. I was like, and I said maybe someone Asian because I'd never dated one before. I know that's weird to say, and I'm not trying to have a preference of race, but I just never dated someone the same as me before, and I really wanted to have that experience. And then my mom's like, "Oh, so someone really buff?" And I'm like, "That's what you got out of my conversation?" I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
She wants to live vicariously through you. She wanted a buff husband, maybe.
Maybe. I have no idea.
Okay, so now you're making me think about the conversations that I had with my mom. And I do remember every time I was single and I would tell her like, oh, I broke up with whoever. She'd be like, "I
Yeah.
you ever think about dating an Asian man? They know how to take care of their women." I was like, I want rar, I want like spark, I want like, but I mean like bold. I want someone who's more. I wanted somebody who was more
Who's
like,
not scared,
I see what I
not
want and I'm
timid.
gonna take what I want, you
Yeah.
know? And at the time, any Asian man I met was just so damn polite. They were just so polite. And I was thinking to myself, like, you wanna kiss me? Just go in and kiss me, Like, which is funny. Which is funny because when my husband, when we first started dating, when he did that, I was like, oh, wait a second, what are you doing?
I didn't give consent. Like, what are you
That was like my main thing, I think. When my every time my mom, she would say, you should go date an Asian man. I have my friend's son is single, and he has a good job and
trying to
he's good
matchmake you?
looking. Yeah, I mean, she tried to match make almost everybody. Like my sisters and I, probably I'm pretty sure she tried at some point with all of us to say like, "Oh, you're single. You ever thought, maybe you should date an Asian man because they're in our culture, they understand us." Just the typical Asian auntie, the very
That's
typical.
amazing. But it was your mom.
It was my mom, yeah. Well, I mean, to other people, she's an Asian auntie, but
Yeah.
I wish I could be in her body to like feel her thoughts and her feelings. Just knowing that none of her daughters married Asian or ended up with an Asian man because
Right.
she wanted it so bad.
Before we wrap up here,
Mhm.
well, tell me what's one of your like memorable or funniest dating experiences.
To be honest, you probably know that more than me because
I
my
do. I
memory
could
is like,
probably. I don't want to expose you like that, but I'm sure you must have other stories that's memorable to you. What I know is more memorable to me.
I'd have to think about that. You go first. Let me think on that.
Memorable. Okay, I'll do a bad one. It was like my first Asian guy going on a date, and I was kind of nervous because he seemed really like city boy. Like he drives a nice car, he knows how to drive. He's really picky about his driving because he's like, oh, my dad's like a driving instructor. So I'm like, so he was really overly confident in his driving. So I think one time I looked over in the shoulder, just like checking if there's a car. He's like, don't do that because that makes me feel like you don't have confidence in my driving. I'm like, I'll just look straight. Weird. Whatever.
That's a little bit of a red flag right there.
Yeah, and then I think he really wanted to kiss me and I wasn't feeling it, but at the same time I wanted him to stop talking. so I so I gave him the kiss, but it was the worst kiss I've ever had.
Oh no.
It like I just think I'm like, "Oh my god, it was like dried fish lips."
Oh
I
no.
wish he had chapstick on. I was like, "Oh, this is not good." I'm like, "This needs to stop right now." And then he's like, "Oh, that was a really nice kiss." I was like, "Thanks."
Glad it was good for you.
Okay, your turn.
If I'm really thinking about it, I think about my husband.
I can think of
Like,
one of your husband, and that's what you told me.
okay,
Do you
in
want
a
me to
good
say it?
or
Okay, I'm
bad?
gonna. I'll. Yeah, it was good.
Okay, well, so I think it was my first date with my husband that was like super sweet. We went out to the Nam and he was such a gentleman. He was so sweet. He was so kind, not just to me, but the people around me, which I thought was so
Yeah.
lovely. And he was also a little bit clumsy. He seemed a little bit nervous, which I thought was
Oh,
kind of
that's cute.
sweet. He
Yeah.
was talking and then he made a hand gesture and he knocked over this glass of water and it spilled everywhere. And right
Oh,
away, he looked at me. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And then he looked over to the table beside us and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," because he realized that it splashed all the way over. And so he got up and he started cleaning everything and asking, "Can I have tissues?" But I thought that was really cute because that was
like
really,
unplanned. It was messy but cute.
yeah, messy but cute, and it really showed me he is kind and he takes care and he actually considers other people. The fact that I could speak and I felt like I was speaking to someone that I had known my entire life. I have said that before, and that's really what the feeling was, is that I could laugh the deep belly laughs that he made me laugh, because he's just a hilarious human being.
He
Um
is.
he really is, and also gave me the butterflies.
Oh,
And it made me feel the spark, because I could talk about my childhood and how I felt rejected or othered in my childhood, and he literally then and there reciprocated. He reciprocated just like that. I felt the same way. I had the exact same experience. I know exactly what you're
oh,
talking about. And I think
wow.
that that was like a big thing for me, to feel seen, right?
Yeah.
I was sitting here as you were talking, and I was thinking, what's a good dating story? And that's the only, like, I could just see him sitting in front of me spilling the water, and that was literally all I could think about. And
Well, that makes me sound really bad because I didn't talk about my dating experiences with my husband. I was gonna save that for the next one.
I'm sorry. Okay, let's scratch that.
You gotta say a bad one.
The
I
bad
can't
ones,
look like
honestly.
the mean one here.
Okay, a bad one. Let's think of a bad one. Like a really bad one. Okay. There was this guy. We went on a few dates, and we connected really, really well in an emotional sense. Conversationally, we got along really, really well. So eventually, we started moving to the next level. We were kissing, which felt great. And then it was the worst intercourse. It was the worst sex of my life.
Oh my
It
god.
was the most awkward. I couldn't get out of there fast
Oh
enough. It
my
was
god.
like,
I don't know who this is.
okay, but the worst part is that because we both felt that connection, we tried
Yeah.
a second time. And it was worse. It was worse. It was worse than the first.
Oh,
And then we just never spoke after that.
oh my god. Okay, that's pretty funny.
And we
That
just
brings
we
out
and,
the dried fish
and
lips.
I think it was like the mutual ghosting.
That's so funny that you guys were both on the same page.
100%. And I think that's why we tried it for a second time, because we both felt the same thing. Like, we get along so well, but why doesn't it work like this? And then it just, no, it was so
Thanks
bad.
for sharing. That's amazing. That's that has to be the funniest story I've ever heard of. Oh my god. In other words, kids don't have sex.
Sparks aren't the only things. you know, just don't trust every connection you have. That's all I'm going to
Oh my
say.
gosh. I think yeah, I do feel that this day and age, like the younger generation when they date, they just have so much confidence and they know what they want in like a mental aspect. Like don't I remember I met this one girl, I think I might have mentioned this before too, that she said like don't try to kiss. She went on a date with a guy and she straight up said she's like, don't try to kiss me, don't try to make a move tonight, blah blah blah. I'm like, wow. I would be too scared to say that on a first date. But yeah, at the same time, like, why wouldn't I say that on a first date? Be like, I don't want you to do this, don't want to do that. Like, we're purely just going for coffee, and that's it. Like, usually, back in the day, you'd be like, trying to be as, I guess, not submissive, but you try to be as a
Open?
compromising, as
Right.
open
Okay.
minded to
Mhm.
guys, taking you out on a date. But nowadays, to like have to setting those boundaries, I'm like, yeah, I would totally want my daughter to do that, and I would also want my son to respect that as well too. But I'm also not excited for them to date, so I don't even want to talk about them dating.
It's going to happen sooner than we think.
Oh god, don't say that. All right, wrapping up this episode. Any final thoughts of what you would tell your younger self?
Oh, too much. What would I tell my younger self with dating? If you feel it, go for it. If you don't, just stop. Stop while you're ahead. Don't try
I
it
would
a second time.
I would tell myself, I'm like, oh my god, there are more finer things in life than dating. Please find a new hobby.
So true. So true. There's a lot more. A lot more to life than
Yeah,
dating or finding a boyfriend, or for sure.
totally.
Absolutely.
But we just grew up in that era where like dating was life, finding a partner was life. And
Well,
other
yeah, it was the
than,
mindset that you graduate from high school, you date somebody, you find out that they're like your life mate, you get married, and then you have kids. Like
yeah, you
that's
both go
always.
through university together. And
Mhm.
then when you start to build your career, it's like, okay, it's time, married, family, blah, 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 right?
Yeah,
So,
doesn't happen
not
like
saying
that,
it's not good
folks.
for us, but there, yeah, try to do more and yeah, have fun and enjoy your life. That's what I would say. Yeah,
Mhm.
try like do new things, go travel, go to school in a different, I don't know, different city or something. I actually do wish I went to school in a different city coming thinking back. I was just too scared, to be honest. I was too scared to leave our local town. Okay, well, thank you again to the audience for listening to us again. This was such a fun topic, and we can't wait to talk about our next episode. So stay tuned.